friends, welcome back to my channel. The shelves are a mess today because I have a lot of books on the table in front of me, and it's a lot of books. I'm going to emphasize that it's a lot of books. We're here today for Booklist Thursday, which means we're going to present a list of books, and I'll tell you how many of them I've read, and you'll tell me how many of them you've read, and we'll chat about that in the comments. But even more than that, today's video is a little bit of a reveal. I've never told you guys on my channel how old I am. I mean, I guess you could tell by looking at me what age range I'm in, but I also got married and had a child in the last few years. So I don't know, maybe you know, maybe you don't. Maybe it's not that big of a deal to you. But I thought today I would talk a little bit about my age, maybe just because I'll never be this young again. Next month, I'm going to have a birthday. And I'll never be this young again. And I know for several years, I've been kind of not hiding my age, but not celebrating it. But every year the number gets bigger and bigger. So if you want to know how old I am, I guess you'll have to wait until the end of the video for the big reveal. The big reveal, because it's a big number. But I mean, it may just be a big deal to me. Like, nothing changes. Except next month, I become a whole bigger number. But that's not the point. Today's list is a little bit of a spin on a thing I've seen other places. For every year, I'm going to start with 2021 because we're not doing a 2022 book yet. I'm going to start with 2021 and I'm going to go back in time to the year when I was born. Big reveal coming up. I'm going to start with 2021. I'm going to go through the years and I'm going to show you a book for each year that I've been alive. And some of the books I've read and some of the books I haven't. But all of these are books that I own. There are other versions of this that I'll probably do at another time where I'll show you books that I have read. That's another trend. That's another thing that I will do later. But for this video, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you a book for each year since 2021, going back in time to year X. X being the year when I was born. And you'll tell me how many of them you've read. So we will start. Here are the books. Starting with 2021. This was one of my favorite books last year. And it's a finalist for the BookTube Prize this year. And I'm judging and this is one of the books that I'm judging, but I can't tell you how this ranks with the other books that I'm judging, but this was one of my favorite books last year, The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fannin Jeffers. This book is excellent, and whether it wins the BookTube Prize or not, this book is one of my favorites. So yeah, that was 2021. This was 2020, Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I have not yet read this, but thank you, Laura, for sending me that copy. This was the 2019 Booker Prize winner, Bernardine Evaristo's Girl, Woman, Other. I haven't yet read it. 2018 was a big year, celebrated by Michelle Obama's becoming. This, I think, broke records for author signings and author events. And I still haven't read this book, but thank you, Penguin Random House, for sending me this copy. I'm going to read it soon. So that was 2018. 2017, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, I have read. 2016, Yeah, Jesse's Homegoing, which I have read and loved. Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I really liked this when I first read it. I don't know if I would like it now, several years later, but I did like it back then. And 2014, A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James. This was the first Jamaican author to win the Booker Prize. He won't be the last if I have anything to say about it, but more on that later. So that was 2014. 2013, Americana by Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie. I read this, really liked it. 2012, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I've owned this copy, never read it. 2011, Jennifer Egan published her novel, A Visit from the Goon Squad, which I've owned a copy of for several years and I've never read it. 2010, a popular book in 2020. A popular book that I've read from 2010 was Jonathan Tropper's This Is Where I Leave You. This is darkly comedic. I really liked it when I read it. I'm not sure that this is a book for everybody, but if you like dark comedy, you may like this. It's a little bit of a middle-aged man who has nothing to lose, and a little bit of him showing you all the things that he doesn't have to lose because he's already lost them. So yeah, like this book. 2009, Wolf Hall, Hilary Mantel. This is the beginning of her Wolf Hall trilogy. I've read this, and I mean, it's a huge book, but I highly recommend it. If you're interested in learning a little bit about British history from a novelist's perspective, this may be the book to read. Really, 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 really great book. My 2008 book is The Story of Edgar Sawtell by David Roblowski. This was gifted to me by my friend Tara a few years ago, and this was one of the first books that I buddy read with Patrice Jones. Hi Tara, hi Patrice. And I mean, this book is amazing. And maybe I wasn't around on BookTube when this was first published, but I'd love to hear more people read and talk about this book. Yeah, The Story of Edgar Sawtell. It features a boy with a disability, but it's not a disability for him. So if you're looking for something to read for Disability Awareness Month, this is a big book to pick up in the middle of a month if you want to finish it by the end of the month, but still highly recommend this for you to read anytime. Then 2007, Khaled Hosseini published Thousand Splendid Suns. So far, I've only read his book, The Kite Runner, and his children's book that was published a couple of years ago, See Something. But I own this and haven't yet read it, so no. We'll get to it someday. I've put it on TBRs many times, haven't yet read it. My 2006 book is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I did originally plan not to have two books by the same author on this list, but I messed up, so forgive me. But yeah, I haven't yet read this, so I guess it's okay. I have two books by the same author, and I've read one and I haven't read the other. Then my 2005 book is Freakonomics by Stephen Levitt and Stephen Dubner, and this is a fantastic book about how we think and how we follow what we consider to be common sense. But maybe if we do some investigating, we'll find that those are not really truths. Like, yeah, not everything that we consider to be a common sense truth is actually true. This is Freakonomics, subtitled The Rogue Economist Explores the Hidden Side of Everything. There are stories in here that I remember reading when this was probably first published, and I still think about those stories now. Like the story about whether drug dealers actually make money. Read this book and its sequel, Super Freakonomics, which is right there. My 2004 book is Snow by Orhan Pamuk, which I have never read. My 2003 book is The Known World by Edward P. Jones, which won the Pulitzer, and I think this book is amazing. I have been wanting to read something else by this author, and I haven't, so there's that. Then the year before that, Jonathan Safran Foer published Everything is Illuminated, which I read and liked, but didn't love, because it's a little different from his earlier work, which I compared it to and found it a little lacking. But this book by itself, I think, is a really interesting exploration of ethnicity, specifically Jewish ethnicity, and one person's search for his roots and what you find when you go looking into the family history. And sometimes it's not what you expect or what you want. And then the year before that, Life of Pi by Jan Martell, which I have read. This won the Booker Prize, which I think this book is fantastic. I think the movie is fantastic. And whether or not, yeah, this is a great book. I won't say more than that. Have you read this one? Read it if you haven't yet. And no, just watching the movie is not enough. You have to read the book, because the book takes a little bit off a spin on whether you believe things as you read them or not. 2000, Zadie Smith came onto the writing scene. I think this was her debut. Yeah, Zadie Smith's debut, White Teeth, which I read right about the time when I came to the United States. I came to the United States in 2001, and this book I thought was fantastic. I read it when I was in college. Not that I had a lot of time to read novels, but this may have been a summer read for me. But I remember really reading it, and really loving it and wanting to revisit it, and haven't yet. So, but I own a copy, so that's okay. The year before that, Stephen Chbosky published The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I only read for the first time last year and highly recommend. The year before that, Judy Blume's Summer Sisters was published, and the publishers recently reprinted and sent me this copy. So this was a gift from Penguin Random House. Thank you, Penguin Random House. Please send me more books. It's been a while. And yeah, I haven't yet read this one, but it's on my TBR this month. The year before that, this book about the Hmong people was first published, and I read it in the 2000s. I read it while I was here in the United States. So I didn't read it when it was first published, but I think this book is a fantastic introduction to the Hmong people. Maybe you don't know any Hmong people. I don't. But I read this and I felt like this author gives an opportunity to understand a culture that we may not be aware of. So yeah, The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down, A Hmong Child, Her American Doctors, and The Collision of Two Colors, The Collision of Two Cultures by Anne Fadiman. Highly recommend this book. And then the year before that, in 1996, Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt won the Pulitzer. This is his memoir, and I haven't yet read it. I read something else by him and really want to read more of his writing, but haven't gotten to this one yet. In 1995, Barack Obama published Dreams from My Father, which I've read and highly recommend because I love it. Did I say that? The year before that, Anne Lamott wrote Bird by Bird, which talks about the writing process. Read and highly recommend. The year before that, Roddy Doyle won the Booker Prize for Patty Clark, ha ha ha, which is great. It's great. I recommend it. It might not be a book for everybody either, but I recommend it. And then this one's a little bit controversial, The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Waller. This was published in 1992, and I get why it's one of those Marmite books. There are a lot of people who really, really like it and a lot of people who despise it. And I'm not sure which camp I'm in. I don't despise the book. I think it's great. It's not a book to celebrate morality and moral clauses, but I think the writing is really good. So we'll talk about that another time. And then in 1991, Art Spiegelman published Mouse, and this is a compilation of previous serial publications. So the book was first published in 1991, and I've read it and I enjoy it. I've read the complete works, but I think the first book was published in 1991. But yeah, if you haven't yet read Mouse, read it. 1990, Tim O'Brien published The Things They Carried. This is my husband's book. I haven't yet read it. 1989, the Booker Prize winner was The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I have read. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey was published in 1988. I've read parts of this book, but I'm not sure that I've ever read the whole thing cover to cover, so you take that. Oh, this was also a gift from Tara. Hi, Tara. In 1987, we got the first translation of Maurice Conde's book, Segu. This was first translated to English from French by Barbara Bray in 1987. I started reading this as a buddy read with Laura. Hi, Laura. But I never actually finished, so I will get back to it. Thanks, Laura. In 1986, Mario Vargas Llosa published The Real Life of Alejandro Meta. This was translated to English in 1986. I'm not sure when it was first published. So yeah, we're still going. 1985, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, read and loved. 1984, The Bone People by Kerry Holm. This is a Booker Prize winner. I haven't yet read it, but it's on my TBR. 1983, Praise Song for the Widow by Paul Marshall. Haven't yet read it, but it's on my TBR because we're reading it for the Run Right Reads book club later this year. 1982, The Color Purple by Alice Walker won the Pulitzer. I have read this, highly recommend it. 1981, Salman Rushdie won the Booker Prize with Midnight's Children, and I've read this and I'm rereading it right now. And if you haven't yet watched my previous video where I talked about supporting Salman Rushdie, go support Salman Rushdie. Buy one of his books if you can get it. And if you can't, put yourself on a list, because right now I think all of his books are out of stock, just because a lot of other people are supporting Salman Rushdie, which is a great thing. Go put yourself on a wait list to buy one of his books. 1980 book is A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. I've been planning to read this book for a while, haven't yet read it. 1979, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I haven't yet read this book, but Penguin Random House sent me this beautiful reprinted copy. And thank you, Penguin Random House. Again, please send me more books. 1978, The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. I have read this. 1977, Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. And 1976, Roll of Thunder by Mildred Taylor. 1976 is the final book on this list because 1976 was the year I was born. I'm 45 years old, guys. This year I'm going to be 46. So, yeah, I have 1 month, approximately 1 month, to keep saying that I'm 45 years old. So if you hear me talk about my age for the next few videos, that's because after my birthday, I'll never be 45 again. So I'm celebrating. So yeah, those are 45 books. A book that I own for every year that I've been alive. Let me know in the comments down below how many of these books you've read, and I'll put my number right here because I don't remember right now. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. We'll be back soon with another video, and I hope you join me for it. So until we come back for that next video, happy reading. Bye.